And we're live, everybody. Welcome in. It is Tuesday, November 21st, 3:30 p.m. Central. And I saw John Richardson in the comment, and we're live, everyone. And literally it was timed exactly with us going live. A lot to talk about, especially around Tesla. Sit back, relax. If you're live, thank you so much. If you're watching this on recording, don't forget to bring up your live comments so you can follow along with everybody that was live. I want to start with some pretty, I don't want to say big news, but there's something here, I think. So this is an account from X called Elon Alerts. And the way this thing works is anytime Elon Musk likes, replies, reposts on a post, it generates an alert. And the one that we got from about an hour or so ago, a couple hours now, is Elon Musk is now following Andrej Karpathy. And for those that are not familiar, Andrej Karpathy used to work at Tesla under the AI division, and he was heavily responsible for essentially creating the foundation for what is now Tesla's full self-driving stack, which is the software that allows the cars to drive themselves. Before that, he was a member of OpenAI, which if you've been following this crazy drama with OpenAI as of late, they went through a huge ordeal starting Friday where the leader was let go, and they've been going back and forth. We've been talking about this a lot on this channel. We had a huge live stream yesterday talking about it. And Andrej Karpathy went back to OpenAI in 2013. However, ever since that whole stuff went down with OpenAI over the weekend, a lot of people seem to be in limbo. And it's very interesting now that we have Elon, who unfollowed Karpathy back when he left Tesla and he joined OpenAI, which I'm guessing was some sort of conflict of interest, or maybe there was some personal, emotional stuff going on there. Now Elon Musk has refollowed Andrej Karpathy on X. Now, again, this is speculation, but I think it's significant enough news to talk about because it's crazy that someone following somebody on X is news. But for people that follow Tesla closely, this actually could mean something. With OpenAI breaking up the way they have, one of the things the panel really agreed with yesterday was that now you're going to have this pollination of talent that's going to be almost dispersing through this move because of what has happened at OpenAI. And so a company like Tesla theoretically could benefit from not just Andrej potentially coming back to Tesla or maybe going to XAI and working on their ChatGPT competitor, but now you're going to have a lot of this AI talent going places. If Andrej does end up back at Tesla for whatever reason, after Elon has followed him, and who knows, maybe they're working on something, then one would think that he's likely going to go back and work on Tesla's full self-driving stack, or he could go work at XAI to work on Grok, or he could just still be at OpenAI, and now they're just following each other back on X because maybe they made up and something was out there for them to hash out, and now they've reconciled and they're buddies again. I'm not really sure. But I do think it's interesting enough to highlight in this case. So again, this was earlier today at 1:15 p.m. Central, my time, about an hour and 2 hours and 15 minutes ago. So yeah, a lot of crazy stuff coming out of this OpenAI thing. And we're still in limbo. We're still not really sure what's going on with the OpenAI stuff. So last place we put it, looks like Sam Altman may be in some sort of negotiation with the board at OpenAI and Microsoft to figure out how to make stuff work, but who knows? Who knows? But Elon's following Andrej again. We'll see what happens there. On the topic of full self-driving, Yang Chang from X at SciFoxCat, thank you so much for sharing this. Tesla has added FSD beta related instructions and usage specifications to the owner's user manual in China. And this may be seen as another proof that FSD is coming to China. It's I can't read Chinese or whichever language this is. I'm assuming it's one of those. And you can see that it's a pretty big document, but you can also see some pictures for full self-driving beta right on here. This looks exactly like it does here in the States, and some other stuff as well. If you're somebody who can read the language, feel free to maybe translate it for us in the comment section below if you can, or maybe give us some tidbits. But it seems to be very similar to what Tesla has stateside. So what's very interesting about this piece of news is that FSD beta hasn't been available in places like China since it launched in the States. And it was something that was going to take a little while to get approval for because of different regulatory approvals. Obviously, the roads in China are very different than the roads in the United States, so the cars have to learn. But this could mark a step, as the user here says, Yan Chang, that this may be seen as another proof that FSD is coming to China. I find it hard to believe that Tesla would put this much effort, even though maybe just translate the the document from English to Chinese, but there's no reason why you wouldn't have it available in your user manual unless you were going to release it. So I think this points perhaps that FSD beta release in China is imminent, which is going to open up yet another potential revenue stream for the company, and it will allow the company to also really entrench itself further in the self-driving game. This is, of course, on the heels of the CEO from Cruise resigning from his position on Monday. Cruise is GM's self-driving division. They had sort of this big thing where their self-driving car hit a pedestrian after the pedestrian was launched in front of the self-driving car by a car that was driven by a human. And then the self-driving car ended up dragging the person for about 20 feet because I guess it didn't know how to handle the situation of just a human being flung in front of it. And the company wasn't forthright about sharing that information. And this obviously caused the CEO of Cruise to leave. So now you have this thing where Cruise is kind of taking a step backwards. They had to remove, essentially shut down their operations basically throughout the nation because of this. And now you have, in the case of Tesla, they're expanding their ambitions when it comes to full self-driving. So you have one player going backwards, you have one player going forward. So that's a pretty interesting thing to talk about there. In addition to that, as it pertains to Tesla, we just got some news. This is from Bloomberg. India closer to agreement with Tesla to import EVs and set up a plant. The factory is being considered in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. I'm assuming that's somewhere in India. An import of Tesla electric sedans could start from next year. Obviously, this is a pretty significant bit of news because Tesla and India, sort of this relationship has been rumored to be going back and forth for a little while. And it looks like we got some piece of news here that we're getting much closer to that coming to fruition. It's something that when the Prime Minister of India came to the United States and spoke with Elon Musk briefly, and people were interviewing Elon, he kind of gave the thing that said, hey, by next year we'll have something, something along those lines. So this points to that direction, that Tesla's expansions and their ambitions are continuing to grow, and now they're closer to an agreement with Tesla to import EVs. So what that also means is that we don't necessarily have to wait, if you're somebody who follows Tesla closely, you don't have to wait until they start manufacturing cars in the nation. They can just start bringing cars in starting as soon as next year. Maybe introduce the brand to prospective buyers with the Model 3 and the Model Y, maybe even the Model S and the X. And then once you start ramping up, say, your compact car, which in theory should launch somewhere in the next year and a half, and it should have a much lower price tag, a starting price, then that car theoretically is able to do significantly better in India. Because obviously, even though they have 1.4 billion people and there's a lot of very affluent places in India, the average GDP per capita is still significantly lower than, say, nations like the United States, which means that they're going to benefit much more from a cheaper car than, say, even a Model 3. So a pretty interesting bit of news there as well, something to keep a close eye on if you're a Tesla fan. Now, as far as Cybertruck goes, we've had some additional information come out in the last 24 hours. So there have been Cybertruck prototypes, not really prototypes, I shouldn't say prototypes, probably candidates, just cars that are going to be sold at some point, or at the very least used to be shown and perhaps for test drives. Here's a Cybertruck is now on display at another Tesla store. There was one that was shown yesterday in California. There's another one in Long Beach. Here's a picture from Mark Chang. Thank you very much for sharing with us, Mark. Here's a picture of Mark in his LA Dodgers jersey and the Cybertruck. You can follow Mark at Ironman Esquire, and of course Sawyer Merritt at Sawyer Merritt on X, one of the best news sources for anything electric vehicles. Thank you, Sawyer. Thank you, Mark. And there's another picture as well. This one is on display at the New York City Tesla store. So if you're in New York City, go check it out. This is on 860 Washington Street. And this is the fourth Tesla store in the last couple of days to receive a Cybertruck for display. So obviously we're seeing a lot of the Cybertruck hype, a lot of the Cybertruck hoopla is starting to ramp up as we near its delivery event on the 30th of November, which is exactly 9 days from today. So here's a picture of that Cybertruck from the New York store. In addition to that, at those same stores, there is a new advertising. The first store that they showed the Cybertruck at was in San Diego, and it says that the Cybertruck has a bunch of different things going on, but this is sort of what Tesla is using to show the car to the people before they walk into the store. The headline reads, "Designed to be the world's toughest truck." I wonder how Ford folks are gonna feel about that. I sent that picture to my buddy Travis, and he drives that F-250. He's like, "That is not the toughest truck, buddy." Like, how would you know? So we'll find out. Of course, we can't take anyone's word for it. We have to actually try it out, which we'll probably do when I get mine. Ultra hard stainless steel exoskeleton, shatter resistant glass, unless you're throwing a huge steel ball, as we saw from the Unveil 4 years ago. Ultra tough SMC bed, up to 2,500 pound payload, adaptive air suspension with on-road and off-road drive modes, and 11,000 pounds of towing power. So what I've done is, now that we have those two numbers from Tesla officially, in some sort of spec, the Cybertruck is going to come with 2,500 pounds of payload, or up to 2,500 pounds of payload, and towing of 11,000 pounds. Now, these numbers are slightly below from where the initial unveil was at back in 2019. I believe they had it up to 3,500 pound payload and up to 14,000 pounds towing. Now, this doesn't mean that they won't have a model that does that much, but at least the one that they're advertising as having 11,000 pounds of towing power and up to 2,500 pound payload. So what I did is I took Cybertruck and I put sort of those very important figures as it pertains to having a pickup truck side by side with its competition. So I took some trims and different models of the F-150 Lightning, and I also took some different trims and models from the Rivian R1T as well, which is Rivian's pickup truck. And I put them side by side when it comes to how long the bed is. So basically how much stuff you can fit in the bed, the payload, which is how much weight you can add basically on top of how much the truck already weighs. So a payload includes anything in the cabin plus the bed plus the front trunk. So total payload. And then towing is basically the total weight while you pull a trailer as well, which is 11,000 pounds. And so as an example, if I put it against all the different trims for Ford and Rivian, under some sort of spec, the Cybertruck is going to be able to have a larger payload than its Ford F-150 Lightning and Rivian R1T competitors at 2,500 versus the max that a F-150 Lightning can pull is about, or payload that they can carry is 2,235. Some of the other specs, the more expensive specs, can do 1952, and that's likely because the battery is heavier, so it can't carry as much on the payload. And then the towing, it also has as much towing capacity as the Rivian R1T quad motor all-wheel drive, which comes in at $87,000. And then the F-150 Lightning that can tow the most is 10,000 pounds, and that's the XLT with the max towing package included, which starts at $72,000. Those two trucks with that towing capacity have a 320-mile range, in this case the F-150 Lightning XLT max towing package, and the R1T quad motor all-wheel drive with the 11,000-pound towing has about a 328-mile range at about $87,000 starting price. And again, these two trucks, 320 and 320 miles. So what's interesting about this, when you do the comparison, is you can kind of sit down and say, okay, so we don't know the pricing yet. Tesla should release it here in the next 9 days, but we start to get an idea, a really good idea of where this truck is likely to come in from a pricing perspective. If we make the assumption that Tesla is going to continue sort of down its path of offering very, very competitive specs for the price, one can assume, if we say compare the Model Y to the Mustang Mach-E, which is a Ford versus the Tesla, one could assume that, hey, Tesla usually has better mileage, usually has better performance, and is usually cheaper. Then in theory, this truck in this spec could come in under 70,000. It could come in at 69,000. It could come in at 65,000. But it also, depending on how much demand there is, it could be much closer to this number, which is 87,000, which is for the Rivian. The other big thing I want to highlight is that for every single one of these electric truck competitors, it does seem like the Cybertruck has the longest bed. So the F-150 Lightning in all specs has a 67-inch bed, which is about 5.5 feet. The Rivian has a 54-inch bed, which is about 4.5 feet. And the Cybertruck has a 72-inch bed, which is 6 feet. So we'll have a longer bed. It's going to carry more payload. It's going to have more towing. And then we'll have to see about the range. We'll find out in 9 days, and we'll have to see about the price as well. But I think if I were to, I've made like freaking 7 guesses thus far, but 350-mile range, 2,500-pound payload, 11,000 towing, probably at 69,000. That's my official guess. That's my guess. You can clip this right now, and if I'm wrong, just throw it back in my face. 69,000, 350-mile range, 2,500-pound payload, 11,000-pound towing. For 69,000, $420. We'll see. Can't wait to be wrong. And then real quick, what's interesting about this too is that now with Tesla getting ready to unveil the Cybertruck in 9 days, or start delivering it with pricing, with all the other stuff, now you have a news coming out of Ford that it says it's scaling back plans for a $3.5 billion battery plant in Michigan as consumers move to electric vehicles more slowly than expected, labor costs rise, and the company moves to cut costs. If you've been following this story closely on this channel, this is something that we've been talking about a lot, that we were expecting this to happen, because we think that and when I say we, I mean myself and the people that maybe follow this channel. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but one of the things that is very interesting here is that legacy automakers' electric vehicle ambitions have not been going nearly as well as they hoped. And the narrative they're saying it's because people don't want EVs. But what I'm trying to, I think, put forth with data, and I think a lot of people agree, is the consumer that doesn't want the EVs that the legacy automakers are offering, because they don't necessarily have the best combination of, say, range, pricing, feature set, safety, technology, so on and so forth. And here we have yet another sort of piece of news out of Ford that is adding to that is saying, hey, we have to scale back our plans because people just don't want EVs. Just people don't want EVs. But we have a lot of data on this channel. We've showed multiple times that people really do want EVs. 54% of North America is looking to buy an electric vehicle in the next 5 years. And the biggest thing they're going after is cost. And Ford is not able to make affordable EVs rather, and especially not able to make affordable EVs that are profitable. And yet we have another piece of news there that backs that up. So hopefully Ford can get it together when it comes to that. But something tells me that legacy automakers are probably out of luck. So with that, I'll leave it right there. If you enjoyed this content, like, subscribe. I would super appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, a bunch of links in the description below. And we'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much.